It's time for sinners and elitists to get what's coming to them.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Adrian, first for the honor of letting us participate in your excellent podcast. I checked it out. You have so many great bands, man. It's an honor to be in the line amongst like the Cannibal Corpse, Starfing, and many more. And to introduce myself, I'm Ivan Cepanec. I play drums for Dickless Tracy, and I'm one of the two founding members, along with my brother, Tommy Cepanec.
And Ivan, how would you describe the music of Dickless Tracy?
Well, we usually describe it as death grind, but now with the last album we saw it's more death metal than it used to be. So today we would just like to say we would call it death metal. It incorporates style from old school death metal of all the schools like European and American up to the new school styles. There is no core elements, I guess, no breakdowns. Sorry. But yeah, that's why we describe it death metal. It would be the best. Even if you see the design, the label Death Grind, that's probably also the closest. But we saw with the reviews of the new album that a lot of people were like, where is the grind in these parts? It's mostly death metal. And we were like, hey, they're actually pretty right. but we were so used of playing different songs from our grind era to our death metal era that we usually called it that grind. But I think it will be less confusing now if we just call it death metal.
Now, as far as your grind era goes, would you say that would be the first 3 albums or the first 2 albums?
Well, actually, yeah, the first 2 albums. The thing with us is that when we started, we didn't know how to actually play this type of music. We all come from punk and hardcore background. So when we first started, we, of course, did some covers of grind bands like Agathocles or Anal Cunt or Cripple Bastards and Patareni from Croatia. And then the thing was, we made so many songs in first couple of years. So when the first album was recorded, these songs were already 2 years old. When the second album was recorded, the songs were again old, like 1 or 2 years. And when the third album was recorded, I think it was 7 years between the second and the third one. We we just incorporated so many death metal touches in there, but it was still grind, but like a mixture of death and grind. Sorry if this answers your questions. But yeah, I think our grind era, like pure grindcore era with 1.5-minute long songs, it was about like first 2 or 3 years of existence. So, and it's best captured on the first album. Already the second album of Light and Darkness, it was already mixed with grind elements and death metal elements. As we were progressing, I guess. And then the third album, I would call it like pretty death metal stuff. So
now, why grindcore? Why was that the music that you and your brother decided to make?
I think it was just because in our small town in the eastern part of Slovenia, we were just, trying to I don't know, to live our nights, the weekend evenings in the way of creating something. So my brother first, when he started in the music scene in our town, he played bass in a hardcore band. And I started playing drums with 2 of my friends in let's say, some kind of a melodic punk rock band. And in the same time, when the scene was growing and we started tape trading, there was lots of bands sending us punk tapes, metal tapes, and grindcore tapes. And with grindcore, it was a revelation for us. I mean, we all knew Napalm Death from our early years, from childhood even, but we never played that stuff. And then when we discovered noise and industrial music, and then grindcore came in, and we were like, okay, let's play something like that, because already my brother and our first singer of Dickless Tracy, they had a noise project where my brother played drums, and that guy Veljko, he used to growl. And that was it. And when my first band when we split up, I was kid, like 15 years old. And I was like, I want to have a band. I want to play something. I want to play something fast. And my brother said like, hey, I already doing a noise band. I could change from drums to guitar, because he was essentially a bass player, but he also knew how to play a guitar, I guess. And it was perfect for me, because I was like, okay, this is short and this is fast and it's brutal. It reminds me of 2, let's say, grindcore bands at the time that I was really familiar with, which was early Brutal Truth and Napalm Death. So that's why we picked it up. I think that was one of the reasons, because we were really interested. The other was the fact that we only had time to practice on Saturdays at our friend's house, and he let us only 1 hour. So in this 1 hour time, from Saturday to every Saturday, we used to spend like first 10 minutes of repeating the 1 or 2 songs that we created, and then we started creating new songs. So we said, okay, if we want to play this 1 hour, let's play as many songs as possible. So I think that was it, why we played grind. And of course, none of us was on the level of, let's say, like a death metal musician. We only knew how to do fast, growly, brutal stuff. I played drums with one bass pedal and 3 pieces of cymbal. My brother, I don't know if he even knew how to tune the guitar. And the first time, I think when we recorded our first demo, it was on a 4-track tape machine. But remember, this was Slovenia in 1997. I mean, when people were like recording on CDs already in the studio, there was no such facility in Slovenia to do this. So it was like grindcore was perfect for us because it was grind for us meant that everything was mixed together. We could put punk parts, we could put, I don't know, breakdown parts from like early New York hardcore bands, like Agnostic Front and stuff like that. We could scream, we could growl, we could do whatever we wanted. And there were and the let's say the good thing about it was also that when people started putting on shows, they put us with every kinds of bands because we fit everywhere except metal shows, because there weren't such many metal shows in that time with us. And so we used to play with melodic punk rock bands, we used to play with avant-garde bands, we used to play with, I don't know, like real hardcore bands, like in vein of Gorilla Biscuits and stuff like that, because Slovenia had a really strong scene like that at the time.
So as you mentioned, you and your brother formed Dickless Tracy around 1997?
Yeah, it was 27 August, 1997.
Can you tell me a little bit about what the scene was like in Slovenia at that time?
Okay. At that time, the underground scene was really strong. Slovenia had lots of young and also already old and legendary punk bands, because that's a real strong scene in Slovenia even today. We had some grindcore bands, as I remember. There were some noise projects. I wasn't aware of metal bands at that time when we started, but there were already some extreme metal bands playing, like Noctiferia, which are still here today. And of course, we had bands like Laibach and the likes, so the legendary industrial bands. Then we had post-punk bands. We had bands of all sorts, so the scene was really diverse. It was strong tape trading scene. There were many concerts, and because Slovenia, it's a small country, but we didn't have a developed highway system. So if you played, like, let's say in Ljubljana, and then next day you played in a place that was 30 kilometers away, the people from those two places didn't go to each other's concert because it was too far away. So wherever you were playing to some big crowds. And because there weren't as many concerts, although the scene was rich with bands, people used to visit every show just because the show was there. And we had a lot of fanzines, we had some radio stations. So yeah, it was pretty strong and diverse.
Cool. And what's the scene like right now? I mean, obviously with COVID, everything is shut down. But like just before COVID, what was the scene like?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, there were lots of new bands coming up every day. Lots of young people starting like at 15 or 16 and already being much better musicians than we are now. Let's say people playing everything from post rock to punk to death metal, extreme metal, thrash metal, all types of metal. So there is lots of clubs which are helping each other. There are some bands that even broke the international boundaries, like Noctiferia mentioned before, or Within Destruction, which are, I guess, one of the most known extreme bands in Slovenia today and worldwide. So yeah, and just before COVID, in Ljubljana, you had like, I don't know how many shows a week, and this is the town which this is a city with less than 500,000 people in the vicinity of Vienna, Zagreb, or some Italian cities. So yeah, it was pretty strong. And even in the time of COVID, yeah, the shows got canceled, but the bands remained. So a lot of bands created their albums, took time to practice. And now when the clubs are opening again in Slovenia, of course we only have local shows, but this is perfect time now. Before that, if you were a local band, you could only hope to have, I don't know, 100 or 200 people at your show. Now every show is like fully packed. So yeah, I think it's great, and there aren't as many tape trading, of course, but there is a lot of, let's say, MP3 trading, lots of webzines, even some radio stations, podcasts, I guess. So yeah, and the bands today, they really strive to achieve like a status in the international community. So they really want to break the barriers. Like when we started back in the 90s. there we could only dream of playing like in a neighboring country of Austria, or even sometimes in the main town, in the main capital of Ljubljana. Now the bands are just thinking like how we can get to England or Germany, and it's usually not a big problem. There is bands now, especially because of the Metal Days Festival, which put Slovenia on the international map, and there is just so many bands coming around and so many Slovenian bands helping, with their clubs, giving them for other bands to come and play. And then it's like, yeah, we organize your gig here, you organize a gig there, and it's like it used to be. So it's pretty strong even now, but especially now, because I think people wanted to fight, the isolation of COVID and anxiety issues and everything that came just by creating art, being music or webzines or pictures, paintings,
Yeah, that's really cool. What was the festival that you just mentioned?
Oh yeah, it's a Metal Days Festival. It's actually like a 7 days long festival here in Slovenia, with international bands and local bands playing. It started as Metal Camp. It started back in 2004, and up until 2020, it's been consecutive, like for every year. And yeah, it was, I mean, like after the third or fourth edition, they really became internationally known. You could see it like, being promoted in big magazines. Like lots of bands were playing here, not bands like Iron Maiden or stuff like that, but we had, like from Kingdom and to Sepultura to you name it. There is like, and yeah, so it's a really known festival in the international area, I guess.
That's awesome. And did you say that it lasts 7 days?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy because it used to be like 2 days. It was the first edition, then it was 3 days, and then because it's in the nature, like between the two rivers and by the mountains and in the vicinity of a small but tourist town, they said like, let's make it a metal vacation. So you have it like for, I think it's 5 days of shows, but like first day is a party day and the last day is like get the fuck out day. So yeah, it's crazy.
That's great. And have Dickless Tracy played
Yes.
Metal Days?
Yeah, we played in the first edition back in 2004, and at that time it was only me and my brother, so we were a two-piece. And I remember we like, because our bassist at the time left, the original singer left, so we decided like, hey, come on, we have a festival, let's play. And we did. I think it was a pretty funny show. It was really hilarious because we really like didn't give a fuck about anything. We weren't drunk or anything like that, but we just decided, to put everything we know into like music show and humor. And I remember that people at the end were like, we want more, and we said like, sorry, we go and watch Destruction now, so cheers. So yeah, we played many, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times, because even at the time they put us on because we released an album or something like that, or we were just, they didn't have enough bands, I guess, from Slovenia to put on, so they decided to put us on. Like, yeah, it was always a great experience for Dickless Tracy to play that or any other festival, I guess.
Ashes, blood, symptoms
So let's talk about this new album.
Okay.
It's called Grave New World, and it came out on September 15th.
Yeah.
Is this your fifth album?
Yeah. It's actually our third professionally done album, but it's our fifth full length. Yeah, we just put it in discography as a fifth album, so it doesn't confuse people. Because a lot of people were saying that first two albums are not actually albums because they're not released on labels, but they were self-released. But we said, like, come on, man, that's like 40 minutes of music on each album, so it's an album. Yeah, and this is this is the latest album, the fifth. Yes.
So you mentioned the growing death metal influence on Dickless Tracy, and you said that at this point your music is mostly death metal.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a change in the way you guys write songs that led to the style slowly changing or taking on more death metal elements?
I think it wasn't an intentional change. It just came as it was, because with Dickless Tracy we always wanted to make extreme music, but didn't want to limit ourselves. We didn't want to say like our sound has to be like a Swedish death metal sound or an American death metal sound. So when we were creating songs for Grave New World, we just did what we always did. We wrote, I don't know, Tommy wrote a great riff, or Jerne, now our new bass player, he also wrote some songs. And if they sounded really fine, we just like honed them to make them really good for us. And we always create songs together in rehearsal place. So that's why we started creating songs like back in 2015, and we recorded them in 2019. So we really took our time, and we tested some songs live, and they sounded good. And to us, we just said, okay, this will be death metal because it has death metal elements which are prevalent. And it was a natural thing because we were always avid listeners of different music. Like if I quote Napalm Death, from something totally mellow to something totally extreme. And so it was really natural. We didn't sit down and said like, let's make this a pure death metal album, because even on Grave New World you hear some grinding songs, or songs which you could mostly label as death grind, but to create slower songs and to make emphasis on some atmosphere, it was really something new for us. So for us it was like, wow, we can play this, wow, we can create something like this, because we were self-taught musicians. I mean, with my drum playing, I never spent time like watching on YouTube how this is done or how that is done. So when we were doing that, we only had one goal: to create a song, or to create songs and an album which we would be really pleased with. And we are, of course, now. And we really took our time, because nobody expected that we will make a new album in so many years' time. Nobody expected what type of music we would do. They would only know that it would be fast and brutal, but now we even incorporated slower parts. So yeah, but I think for us it was great, because death metal, comparing it to grind, I guess, I hope nobody will hate me now, but I think it offers much more diversity. And we were kind of tired of just doing fast songs for the sake of fast songs. And we incorporate subconsciously so many influences from, let's say, quote unquote, slower but heavier music. So it was just a natural thing for us.
How do songs typically come together for you guys? You mentioned writing riffs, and your new bassist contributing riffs. Yeah,
it was before Jerne, our last bassist, I mean our current third member, joined. It was always my brother who wrote, let's say, one riff or two riffs, and he had an idea of how the song would sound, and he brought it to rehearsal place. And then me and the singer, or other guitarists at that time, because we had so many lineup changes, we listened to it. We said, okay, it sounded good. And then we started creating the foundations with drums, and then just creating the song in the rehearsal place always. And then from Paroxysm of Disgust album back in 2014 to Grave New World, it was like Tommy, he created some riffs at home, and he put it, let me say how old school he is. He put it on a tape, but like on a cassette, because he had like this Walkman recorder, and that he then plugged it into the computer to turn it into MP3, and then he sent it to me and Jerne via, let's say, Gmail or WeTransfer with all these descriptions. He was like, this riff starts as like da da da, and then he plays it, and then he said like, and I feel some carcass in here, and it was always like this. So then when we had these ideas from him, and I already had some ideas for drums, when we came to rehearsal place, because we rehearsed once a week, like for 2 or 3 hours, that was possible with our jobs and everything. Then we just took time, to repeat some songs and to create a new one. And if it took like 1 week or 2 months, we didn't care. With Jerne, his opus, no, how they say, modus operandi, is that he creates music through at home, and then he records it on Guitar Pro, and then he sends it with with the drums that sound like computer games, and it's really hilarious to listen to. And then he sends the tablatures. I don't know how do you say it, for guitar inscriptions.
Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
He sent it to Tommy, and then we usually came to the place. We already knew how the song will sound, and for me, it was just, I don't know, when I hear guitars, in a way, I visualize how the drums should be played there, and then I put some, let's say, rhythms different or something, and then the other guys say if it sounds good or if it should be faster. Then we usually record it at the rehearsal, like on a phone, and then on the phone, and then we listen to it at home if it sounds well. We usually, like, when we create a song, we leave the space for change if it's needed, because some of these songs that you hear on Grave New World were actually changed for a couple of times,
Yeah.
So it's we changed it for a couple of times, but we always had a goal, like, let's create a song that is good, that it could be listened by us or by listener. Because I'm like almost 40 now, Tommy's a little older, Jerne is a little younger, and we're not in that time anymore where it's like my drums have to be prevalent on this song, or the guitars have to be like this, So it's always a team effort, I guess, when the song is completed.
When do the lyrics come in, and who writes the lyrics?
Okay, the lyrics for the new album were written mostly by Tommy and me. Usually the lyrics come in last, except on some songs like Morphing into Maelstrom or Apostles of Terror or even Dissection of the Mind. I think those lyrics were some things that I had written back in 2006 or 7 or even 2003, because I had this notebook where I used to write lyrics, and then my brother didn't have ideas for these songs, and he said, like, do you have any lyrics for this? Yeah, here they are. And then he fitted them into the song. So we always write music first and then the lyrics, but usually, like, the lyrics are something that, for at least for me, it's like I write them all the time, so then I have like this notebook, and it's like I hear the song and then I go through lyrics, and I'm like, this works. This kind of reminds me of these lyrics that I see here. That's what happened, I think, with Apostles of Terror or Morphing into Maelstrom or Pathetic Descendant of Apes. I think Pathetic Descendant of Apes lyrics were written because of the music, because the music, when Jerne wrote that song, I think he was aiming for a kind of cattle decapitation style vibe. And I heard this, like, when I heard that, I was like, I heard the lyrics being growled in Travis from Capital Decapitation voice, or Barney from Napalm Death, the newer Napalm Death voice, and then topics just wrote themselves, So it was like, yeah, it's that.
What can you tell me about the recording of the album?
Recording of the album, I think it was really the first time we did the whole album recording on a professional level, because we really took our time and went into the studio. We started recording in March 2019. I remember doing drums on one weekend. We recorded here in Negligence Studio in Ljubljana, which is one of the best studios, I think, for recording metal. And the recording was done by Andrej Čuk. He's now the leader of the band Insanguinate, but at the time he played with me in a thrash metal band called Eruption. So it was a really easy process to record drums with him. I think he even incorporated some ideas, so that's why we put him as a co-producer, because some drum parts sounded different before his input. And then at his home studio in his apartment, he calls it Defender of the Riff Studio, we recorded the guitars and bass. Bass was, of course, recorded solely by Jerne, and the guitars were, of course, recorded by Tommy. And then I think Tommy took one weekend to record the vocals. And I remember we received the master tape or master CD on July 19th, 2019, because that's when Tommy's daughter, my niece, was born. So we had like a double party for that. And then we were deciding where to release it, or because the thing is, because Tommy became dad, we didn't know if we would have as many shows in the beginning, because of course being a father is a priority. So we kind of took our time, we decided this we would do with the cover, and then like you blink twice and it's 2021. Yeah, but the recording went really smooth and we were really happy because Andrei, he's really familiar with recording techniques, and although he's quite young, he's a really, really big fan of classic death metal, like Morbid Angel, Suffocation, or Entombed and stuff like that. So he, from the start, he knew what kind of sound we wanted to achieve. I mean, we wanted to sound, like modern, where you can hear things, but we wanted it to be organic in a way, to be still brutal. We didn't want to sound like, let's say, deathcore bands, which have their own, of course, sound, because we wanted Andrei to capture the sound that we could recreate in live situation, because we only have one guitar, one bass, and one piece of drums, one set of drums. So we didn't record solos because, well, Tommy doesn't know how to play solos, but we also we couldn't, we couldn't take a guitar with 7 strings and let's say like let's tune it to C, because then live he doesn't have a 7-string guitar. We are not tuned to C, so we just wanted to capture what we already had created, and I think Andrei did it perfectly. It was a really smooth transition, but altogether I think it was 6 days of recording if I would connect all the days that were separated at the time.
Yeah, Andre did a really good job. The production is great.
Yeah, he's amazing. You should I can't wait for you to hear his band Insanguinate. They are recording right now, and he also did the Hellsword album, which is like a Bathory Venom influenced young band from Ljubljana, and everybody's like praising in the reviews, saying that he really did a great job making an old school sounding band with a modern production. It just sounds great because you can hear everything. And what I really like is that when he records and when he mixed it and mastered it, he made it sound like really, like live, in a way. Of course, it was recorded to a click and everything, but still, I think you can say that it was played by human. I bet it was edited a lot of time, because sometimes I'm not a perfect drummer, but I think the result really speaks for itself. And he put in some great ideas, like with the piano part in the Apostles of Terror, or the weird squeaking part in Fade Dagger Forest in the guitars. That was like, I think that was him and Tommy. That was really good.
Was this the first time you guys worked with him as an engineer?
Yes. I mean, I used to work, I recorded 2 Eruption albums with him, but for Dickless Tracy, it was the first time. The problem with Dickless Tracy before was that when we started, there weren't as many studios to record this type of music. So we used to record it like at our friend's place. And then, of course, we didn't have jobs, so we didn't have money to do this, because in Slovenia, it's really hard to survive as a band, So when we really had the money and the idea, I think Andrei was the perfect choice because of all the mentioned characteristics before. Yeah, we worked with him for the first time, and I think it won't be the last.
The album is out now. What plans do you guys have as far as promotion?
Well, we're trying to promote it as much like through the internet, like through types of interviews, like now with Dreams of Consciousness or tomorrow Metal Detector, a Slovenian radio show. But when it comes to playing live, we have for now only one gig, which is release party in Ljubljana. And then we decided to play Slovenia, some clubs, and hopefully Austria, Croatia, Serbia. We don't plan any big tours because for us, still Dickless Tracy is like a hobby, and we all have those types of jobs that don't allow us to go around as much. But if we get contacted from somewhere abroad to play, I think we'll go, even if we cannot all go. Like if I couldn't go because of my work, I would ask a friend of mine to play drums, and I think Tommy would do the same for the vocals and stuff like that. So for now, yeah, we plan to promote it in Slovenia. and some neighboring countries, and then we'll see how it goes, especially now with COVID and all this uncertainty, you know.
So the fifth Dickless Tracy album is called Grave New World, and it's out now. Ivan,
Yeah.
how can people order the album? What's the best way to get it?
Okay, the best way to get it is to contact us on Facebook, like facebook.com Dickless Tracy Grind, or if you just write Dickless Tracy in Facebook, you will get us. There. The other way is to contact our label, Monster Billy Records, which is monsterbillyrecords.com, and then you just go straight to the shop page of it, and there you can order, or through us you can order the physical copy, being a CD. And if you wanted to buy a digital copy, you can go to our Bandcamp. Oh fuck, I forgot the address and to write it down. But I think it's just Dickless Tracy, Dickless Tracy Grind. Or you'll see like Dickless Tracy from Slovenia, and you see the album Grave New World. So the price is 10 euros. So Bandcamp usually takes like 2 or 3 euros from us, except if it's Bandcamp Friday. And the price through Monster Billy Records or a physical CD is 10 euros, and postage and packaging, which I think it's like differs from country to country. In Europe, I think it's 2 or 3 euros. I don't know how much is in the US or stuff like that. If you don't have the money, I don't know, listen to it through YouTube and copy it down on a cassette. Don't put it on the Russian torrents yet, please. Give us some possibility for us to sell some CDs, you know? So, yeah.
I believe the Bandcamp page is dicklesstracy.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
And people want to follow Dickless Tracy online. You mentioned your Facebook page. Is there any other platform?
That's the best way to follow us, because we are most active on Facebook. We also have an Instagram account with Dickless Tracy Official, but we are not as busy on the Instagram. So you won't see us posting breakfast or what type of socks are we wearing today. But on Facebook, if you want, we are there. We check it out all the time. So that's the best way to follow us. You can also see us on YouTube, on Dickless Tracy official channel, but we are not posting as much. We will be now with live shows, and I hope some playthroughs of our songs. But for now, Facebook is the best way to contact us. Or through our Gmail if you want to talk.
And what type of socks are you wearing?
What type of socks? Hey, believe it or not, I'm actually not wearing socks right now. It's I won't say casual Monday, but it's pretty hot autumn day here in Slovenia. So after a couple of days of being like really cold and autumny, now it's like I can be sitting without any socks. But usually I wear funny socks, like Superman socks or some silly thing like that, because I'm a kid inside, So, yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, first of all, I hope you guys will like our new album. You can also check out our old albums, which are mostly on YouTube or Bandcamp or on torrents. Then I hope you will order some. Yeah.
So how come the first 2 albums aren't on your Bandcamp page?
The thing is, when you put things on Bandcamp, they have to be really good quality. And the thing is, we don't have master tapes of our first albums. I think I even have only CDR of the first 2 albums. So we were discussing if we would put it on Bandcamp, but for now we decided not to do that. I think we'll put it just on YouTube first, and perhaps then we'll get. I think people when you download music from Bandcamp, they expect quality, I guess, in sound, and this would be. I'm not even sure if the copies I have are the first copies. I think it's copy of a copy, so it could be kind of people could be, I don't know, diverted from it, or they wanted to avoid it. But who knows, perhaps we'll re-record the songs and put it as an album, something in the future, like a compilation, perhaps a tribute, because next year we are celebrating like 25 years of grinding, although we're playing death metal now. And we were thinking of perhaps recording songs from the first 2 albums, not all songs, but some songs that we feel that would really sound good now with the equipment and our ability of playing. So perhaps we'll do it like this, but who knows? I think if we take enough time, we could put everything we have on Bandcamp, because we have tons of live albums, split demo, promo stuff, So who knows, when we get busy, we really get busy. So thanks for the idea, though. Yeah.
Now, I was curious because as I was doing the research, I couldn't find the first two albums, so I wasn't sure if they'd ever been released after the initial CDR releases.
No, they were never like professionally released through a label. We released them for ourselves. I mean, by ourselves, sorry. But like I said, I think we will put them on Bandcamp, but for now we didn't want to because we didn't think they sound good. We are not ashamed of them or anything else because these are our albums. They represent Dickless Tracy at that time, our ability to play, our ability to record, to create, and we're still really proud of those songs. And we play lots of them live because they're short, and they now sound really good with this equipment we have. But yeah, I think we'll do it in the future, I guess, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually interrupted you. I asked you if there was anything else you wanted to say.
Oh, I hope I said it. And I hope I didn't talk too much. Well, I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity because this was our first podcast interview ever. This was our first Malaysia interview for Malaysian podcast ever.
I'm sorry, it had to be me.
No, don't apologize, man. Like I said, we just feel honored, to be doing this, and I hope people will check out Dickless Tracy. A lot of people judge us by the name. Some were offended because it represents we didn't know it was a female police officer slang term in Australia. Sorry for that one. And a lot of people then are disappointed, like, you guys don't play gore grind, you sound like this. So step around the name and discover the music that is really behind it. I hope you'll check out also the older albums. Order the CD if you like to. If you ever want to contact us, answer our mails we write on YouTube. It is all handled by all three members of the band, so it's never a problem. Just do it. And like I said, thanks for the support to all the two guys who ever listened to Dickless Tracy since '97. And thank you, Adrian, really it was an honor and a pleasure to spend these 40 minutes with you. I hope it was the same, because I know that I talk a lot and sometimes I divert from the initial question. So I hope this won't be a hard thing for you to edit, or just put some Slayer screams in between when I'm talking too much. Like, hey, you love that. So.
No worries, Ivan. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Enjoy it, man. Cheers.